Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to need to try and visualise it. If we can imagine the Earth, I can say, okay, what does the Earth look like? And if the kids all say it's flat, then, you know, they're a few centuries out. So if we draw the ball and we draw the sun, then it's there. That's where the deserts are. I don't want to spend... Go on.
Can I just say something? I think it's the text has left out a subheading, because to me, all that first information is really the reason why there's deserts at the top of Capricorn and Cancer.
Yes.
But it doesn't say that there. And then it goes on to talk about other types of deserts, why they're called.
Yeah.
And if I knew that would help me a lot. Why they are at those particular spots. Like on the diagram below, there's a nice little caption that says at the top of the Capricorn, blah, blah. And that's really a summary of what all that paragraph is, but it doesn't have that subheading.
No. And if we were to really look at the sentence structure, we would really write this differently. You see, if I were writing difficult ideas like this, I would have only one event in each sentence. I wouldn't have two events.
Because it's really the first reason why we have deserts.
Yeah, and but we can't change the text. How are we going to have the students understand it better? Now, I would like to just go through so that we have covered the some other activities for paraphrasing, and then come back to summarising. Is that okay? So now these are all in your notes. Now, if we're having students deal with summarising, these are some activities I'd be using in a secondary classroom. So we are now on page 9 of the notes. I'm sorry, we're on page 8 of the notes. We're at the top of page 8. With every one of the strategies, I would be really encouraging you to have small group activities where students in pairs or groups of 3 or 4 work on having a go at paraphrasing, say, 2 sentences you allocate. So you might allocate 2 sentences to each group. And they have to paraphrase the sentence and then provide them back to the group as a whole. So I'd be having the students working in small groups to paraphrase and later to summarise, to work out the questions, text answers, and so on. And that will make sure they're learning both about your topic and also about how to be literate. Another way in which we can work on the paraphrasing is to have the students write sentences in their book or give them photo sentences on them, and the kids can write their paraphrases above the sentence. So if you're wanting them to learn how to deal with the verb first, they have to read the sentence and try to find the verb and then use that to chunk, to segment the sentence into bits, and then work on paraphrasing each bit. I'd be having the students suggest synonyms for key words before you want them to paraphrase the sentence. Some of the children will find it very hard both to generate these synonyms and also to paraphrase the sentence. So I would be having the students work on suggesting the synonyms for key words before they begin to paraphrase. Now, this isn't necessarily pre-teaching vocabulary because they may have already encountered the words you're working on in your scaffolding before that. And it's important that the synonyms that the children provide fit with the topic. Now, the children can say synonyms for individual words, but it would be then good to say, and if we're talking about this topic, is that another good word for it? The third point I've made there, it's important the students get feedback, that they really know whether they're on the right track or not with their synonyms. Fourthly, I would begin with comparatively simple sentences. I would begin with one event sentences. What do I mean by one event sentences? On the very first sentence on that page, deserts generally lie in regions roughly grouped around the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, that is blah blah. I would stop that sentence at the Tropic of Capricorn. That would be a one event sentence. A second event is, this is between. Does that make sense? Children comprehend one event sentences before they comprehend two event sentences. The third one, these regions are typically dry. That's a one event sentence. Now, the next one, deserts tend to form in the rain shadow of mountain ranges. That's a one event sentence. They also form in the centre of land masses. They form on western coastal strips near to cold sea currents. Do you see how I'm making each of them into a single event? Now, as soon as you do that, as soon as you insert more full stops into that paragraph, you have reduced its readability level. You have immediately put it in the grasp of a lot of children who wouldn't have been able to comprehend it first. One key aspect of language development is that children learn to use one event sentences before two event sentences. And a lot of the complexities children have both in their writing and their reading is the two event or the multi-event sentences. So, right, the next point. Now, to teach students to check that their paraphrased sentence matches the original sentence, one activity you can do is to collect, as some of these students' attempts, like we'll do with the summarising, put them up on the pieces of paper, and then we can all look at deciding which ones are, which parts are correct and which parts we need to change. And another activity can be looking at two or three attempts and saying which is the closest. So if we see that sentence we looked at before, the people of Italy were also the inheritors of the skills of the old Roman Empire. We've got three sentences there. The Italians had things left over from the Roman Empire. The abilities of people living in Italy were like those of the inhabitants of the Roman Empire. People living in the Roman Empire passed on their ways of doing things to people living in Italy. So which is the closest, do you think? Last one? What about the second one? Or the first one? What a great discussion we'd have. We're not going to, guys, but that's a good activity. Yes, it does. And if this were a Year 7 class, we'd really pursue that. So Anna's point is, if we had a discussion about that, I really want to stress this. The kids are going to learn about their content. They're going to learn the content much better this way. Much better.